All right, I think we are live. Go ahead and take it away, Jessica.
Okay, well, welcome to our weekly wellness sessions for musicians. My name is Jessica Kebbe. I've got my doctorate and other degrees in piano performance, and I specialize in helping teachers learn how to address performance anxiety and adopt mindfulness practices in their private teaching. I teach at Mid-American Nazarene University, and I'm the founder of Mindful Music Pedagogy. And I'm joined by my colleague, Francesca Leo. I always say Leo.
No worries.
Who holds a master's degree in flute performance from Manhattan School of Music. And she is the chair of the Puerto Rico Flute Symposium Wellness Committee and the founder of playingwithoutpain.com. We've been doing these live sessions now since last fall, and they have progressively shifted from addressing things related to the body and then breathing, and now we are focusing on the brain. All of our sessions are archived on the Puerto Rico Flute Symposium's Facebook page, as well as playingwithoutpain.com and mindfulmusicpedagogy.com. So if you're a music educator and you want to share these videos with your students, we do have the recorded Zoom sessions there. And you can also find them on the diazdelmoralfoundation.org/wellness-for-musicians site. You can also send us an email at info@prflutesymposium.org, and we can share the MP4 files with you directly. We do welcome questions and comments or topic and guest recommendations as we proceed with these sessions. So you can also send those to the same email address. Once again, that is info@prflutesymposium.org. You can also make a donation. We try to pay our guests, and so that is done all via donations, and that can be accessed in the link in the description, which is paypal.me/diazdelmoralfoundation. So today we will continue with the brain portion of our wellness sessions, and Francesca will be discussing perfectionism, citing clinical definition and common symptoms, as well as some strategies for coping with it. So I know for sure this is something I struggle with, so I'm definitely looking forward to this. And we'll be sharing this with my students. One thing we wanted to let you know real quick, we are experimenting with ways how to have these sessions available in Spanish. And so Francesca, before she jumps into her topic, she's going to detail the ways that we're doing that right now. And also, if you've got suggestions, we are wide open to those. So go ahead, Francesca.
Thank you, Jessica. And I want to give a special thank you to Gabby Prisco, who actually was the one who told me about this software. So we had a running joke in one of our meetings that was like, how many degrees do we have combined in this Zoom room right now? And we can't figure out how to get the captions up in Spanish. So we think we figured out a way. Also, I think there is supposed to be auto-generated captions on the Facebook Live right now. If there's not, drop a comment and let us know, and we'll go back and review it later. But I hope that that's working, because that was another thing that we're trying. But real quick, before we dive into perfectionism, I wanted to just show you how to log on to this third-party translator that we are using currently, and we will download this transcript, and it will be available after the video as well, along with the archive. So I'm going to share my screen, and I will show you how to log on. So this is what it looks like right now, and it's, as you see, it's automatically translating my text, or what I'm saying, to Spanish. So I don't know if it's perfect. I hope that that it's a pretty accurate translation, but if you go to streamer.center, click enter, center, enter, rhymes, and wait for it to load. I'm already logged in, but I'm gonna log out just to show you. So go to login. We've provided this information in the description of the video, so it's pr.flute.symposium.espanol. The password is PRFS2020. Login. And then you click on this room. And then you will see the translation of the text up to here. So if the auto-generated captions aren't working in Spanish on the video, you can also come here. So we hope this is helpful. Awesome. So now let's dive into this week's topic. So I'd like to start by saying, Hello, my name is Francesca Leo, and I am a recovering perfectionist. Often when we think of perfectionism, we often associate it with someone who is really detail-oriented and often does not submit anything, such as a recording or assignment, until everything is absolutely perfect, which can lead to a lot of stress and a fear of ever submitting anything, and I can personally relate to that. But perfectionism often affects all parts of your life. It's much more than just being afraid to submit something because not everything is perfect. Perfectionism for many people is really debilitating. For me, perfectionism has led me to believe that I'm never good enough. As someone who is often labeled as driven, hardworking, a go-getter, which some of you or many of you may be able to relate to, I've only begun to realize that this constant desire to improve, take on more work when I'm already extremely overwhelmed, measuring my sense of self-worth in regards to my achievements, and feeling extreme devastation when I do not meet my own expectations and standards that I'm constantly raising, has taken a serious toll on both my physical and mental well-being throughout my life. I imagine that many of you listening can relate to some degree. So while we may view perfectionists as having some positive traits that set them up for success, especially in the classical music industry, we also have to take a step back and realize the severe impacts that perfectionism can have on one's overall sense of well-being. So let's begin by outlining a clinical definition of perfectionism. A perfectionist is someone whose standards are high beyond reach or reason, and who strain compulsively and unremittingly towards impossible goals, and who measure their own worth entirely in terms of productivity and accomplishment. So I felt really seen after I read this definition. I was like, oh my gosh, that's me. That's everything I struggle with. Perfectionism is also associated with a range of psychological problems. So it can go hand in hand with depression, generalized anxiety and worry, social anxiety and shyness, obsessive compulsive problems, anger difficulties, and issues related to body image and eating. Perfectionism can negatively impact one's thoughts and behaviors as well. So a few months ago, I took a seminar, a continuing education seminar titled The Pathology of Perfectionism, led by Dr. Martin Antony. And through this presentation, they outlined 3 common dimensions of perfectionism, or common types of perfectionism. So there's self-oriented perfectionism, which means that you are intrinsically motivated, which means that you're self-motivated, basically. And you put a lot of pressure on yourself to be perfect. The next one is other-oriented perfectionism, or you expect others around you to be perfect and you hold others to extremely high standards. And then there's socially prescribed perfectionism, which means that you are externally motivated, or you have a desire to live up to others' expectations, which I find that we often see, especially in the music industry, and especially in the context of private lessons, just being really stressed out or afraid to go to your lesson each week because you're afraid that you might make a mistake and not live up to your teacher's expectations. This can also occur in orchestra jobs as well, in teaching jobs, when you feel that you're constantly under review and you're afraid to make mistakes because you're afraid to let anyone down. So I find that this, in addition to self-oriented and other-oriented for that matter, musicians experience a lot of perfectionism in general, I think. So the Frost Multidimensional Perfectionism Scale outlines 6 subscales when assessing for perfectionism. So basically this means when you go to an appointment to get clinically assessed by a professional, they will examine 6 different things in your reactions to them. So these include concerns over mistakes, doubts about actions, personal standards, what your parental expectations were, so what your parents expected of you, if you had any parental criticism, and also your approach to organization in all parts of your life. So some traits of perfectionists can include a preoccupation with details, rules, lists, order, schedules, and organization, an excessive devotion to work and productivity, being over-conscientious or worried about what other people think, being scrupulous and inflexible about matters of ethics or morality, and a reluctance to work with others or ask for help. So if any of these traits sound familiar to you and they feel debilitating, like you're at the point where you're struggling to be able to function because these traits are so severe or affecting parts of your life, it's strongly recommended to seek professional help. And I can link some resources as well after this presentation. So let's talk about perfectionism and musicians for a little bit. So a 2017 study on collegiate musicians at a large Midwestern university revealed that the majority of participants reported elevated feelings of perfectionism, music performance anxiety, and music-related stress. A 2014 study on mental problems among first-year conservatory students revealed a high score on the personality trait of perfectionism as well, meaning that the majority of students had or exhibited perfectionistic traits. And a 2007 study on perfectionism in young musicians revealed that while some factors of perfectionism in musicians can have positive impacts, negative reactions to imperfections were associated with high levels of distress and anxiety, and were often associated with external motivation to perform well, or the socially prescribed perfectionism that I mentioned a few minutes ago. Perfectionistic tendencies can also contribute to the development and severity of music performance anxiety, which I thought was a really interesting finding, and this is according to several studies. So it's also important to note that there's two main types of perfectionism. There's, in addition to the three dimensions, there is perfectionist strivings and perfectionist concerns. So one usually has positive effects and the other has negative effects, and I'll outline that in a second. Perfectionistic strivings demonstrate the aspects of perfectionism associated with striving for perfection and setting exceedingly high expectations of performance. So that typically leads to positive effects, although reading that I can really relate, and it doesn't always feel great to be that way. So I think the idea is that it's more positive with the outcomes, but I'm not sure about that. And perfectionistic concern outlines the more negative impacts of perfectionism, which include concerns over making mistakes, fear of negative evaluation by others, and feelings of discrepancy between one's expectations and their actual performance. The differences between the two is important to understanding perfectionism. So both perfectionistic striving and perfectionistic concern are highly correlated, meaning that when a person has higher positive, quote-unquote, aspects of perfectionism, such as being success-oriented, driven, etc., this often means that they're also highly afraid of facing judgment from peers, not measuring up to others, and fear of falling short of their goals. So there can be positive aspects of perfectionism, but often it goes hand in hand with the negative aspects as well. So a study by Stober and Eisman in 2017 revealed that musicians with higher levels of perfectionistic striving traits on average won more awards than musicians with lower levels of these traits. So it's often like these behaviors themselves were actually being rewarded, which only further deepens the stigma surrounding perfectionism, and why I think it's hard for people to talk about, because perfectionism may have helped you accomplish things, but also may start to feel debilitating over time, but it feels scary to let go of those traits because they are often tied with your success. Another study in academia revealed that higher levels of perfectionist striving traits in students predicted higher test scores, so that goes hand in hand with winning more awards and things like that. While these may seem like positive traits of perfectionists, it's really important to examine the motivation behind these perfectionistic tendencies. So, what are some things that we can do to begin to understand and manage perfectionism? So, this is where, if you don't already, you may want to get a notebook and something to write with, or a piece of paper and a pencil. The first step is to seek a clinical assessment by a professional. So, according to the book, When Perfect Isn't Good Enough, and I forgot, I'm looking at it in my bookshelf right now. I should have had it right next to me to show you. Highly recommend getting this book. A crucial part of the treatment process is conducting a detailed self-assessment of your perfectionistic tendencies as a way to begin to manage and challenge your difficulties with perfectionism. So, observing these tendencies in yourself is also a helpful way to report your tendencies to the professionals that you're working with, which helps to create a more effective treatment plan. So we will begin by doing a brief journaling exercise called a perfectionism diary. So take out your writing utensil and a piece of paper. And just to note that some of these journaling exercises can feel overwhelming or maybe even triggering. So if you're feeling this way, please feel free to tune out and opt out of this exercise. There is no obligation for you to do it. So this is the perfectionism diary exercise. So you can write the date and time if you want to keep a log of it, but it's not required. And maybe I'll have Jessica be my test subject for this. So the first thing that you're going to do is you're going to write down any situation that you feel like your perfectionistic tendencies kind of shine through. So maybe this could be performing, giving a recital, and you often fixate on your mistakes in the recital. Or even like I'm doing right now, sometimes I often struggle with giving presentations. I'll trip up on saying a word and then I'll feel really bad about it after because not everything was perfect. So think of a situation that really brings up these feelings. Write that situation down briefly. Got it?
Yes.
All right. So the next step is to write down the perfectionistic thoughts that you have in the situation.
Are they just the thoughts, or do you want the possible actions that result from those, or just?
That'll be the next step. So
Oh, oh, sorry, I'm getting
oh
into
no,
it.
you're
Okay.
good. Just the thoughts first. So really, what your thought process is during the situation. Like, oh, I can't believe I made that mistake. Like, or even like I knew I was going to make that mistake. Like, of course I did. I'm not good enough. That's what goes through my head. All right. Jessica's nodding, so I think we're good to go.
Yeah.
Next, you're going to write down the actions or behaviors that you take in this situation, perfectionistic actions or behaviors. So if I was writing about making a mistake in a recital and you asked me to talk about this like 4 years ago, I would have gone straight from that recital into a practice room and I would have practiced for hours because I made that one mistake. So it would almost be like punishing myself. So let me know when you got that. And the final step is to write down your mood or how this affects your overall mood. So I would write down that it makes me angry. I feel angry that I made a mistake, and then I practice for hours because of that. So go ahead and write down your mood. All right. So this exercise can help you begin to determine how your perfectionistic tendencies arise in daily situations and acquire a greater understanding of how it affects your overall well-being. So we're going to do one more exercise, and this is a little bit more positive. So this time we will focus on a goal you have surrounding your perfectionism and what you would like to change about it. So we will begin by choosing something general. So for me, it's as simple as like allowing myself to take breaks, like giving myself permission to rest. Because often I subconsciously think that I don't deserve a break. I'm not worthy of a break. And that's why it's so hard for me to rest. I feel like I'm always trying to do something productive. So think of just a general goal, something like that. Let me know when you got it. All right, now, so we'll pick something specific within that range or within that realm of your goal and pick something that is realistic and achievable. So something really specific. So if I was still going with the example of allowing myself to rest, I would probably say schedule a 10-minute break in the morning each day. So I have to take a break. And then you can specify if it's a long-term goal or a short-term goal. So that would be a short-term goal for me.
Okay.
And then just take a moment of reflection and think about what your life might look like if you met this goal, if you met this broad goal. So for me, if I allowed myself time to rest, maybe I would feel a better quality of life, um, feel more relaxed in general. So go ahead and maybe just jot some things down of what you think your life might look like if you meet that goal or when you meet that goal. And this can really just help you look at it from a positive aspect, especially looking at treatment from a positive aspect. But again, it's really strongly recommended to go see a medical professional if you experience debilitating feelings of perfectionism, and you're not alone. There's so many people that can really strongly relate to this experience, especially in the music industry. So I highly recommend getting the book When Perfect Isn't Good Enough. I believe that is listed in the description. And if you have any questions, please feel free to drop it in the comments. And I think I'll open it up for a moment. If Jessica, if you want to share anything, maybe either your journaling or your general experiences with perfectionism or anything like that, and whatever you're comfortable with.
Sure. Well, yes, I'm a huge recovering perfectionist as well. I would say that early on in my teens and 20s, I was very much falling into that perfectionistic concerns group where I would have a lot of like negative reasons for doing what I was doing. But like you said, it often, it's hard to pull yourself away from things, even if it's negative, because you're often getting good results. And so
Exactly.
for me, the struggle was, of course, I enjoyed the results, of competitions going well or scholarships or, invitations for performances. I loved that. And I didn't want to give that up as a part of releasing myself from perfectionism, which I don't think we should necessarily, but it was a quest for me to find a healthy relationship between being really excellent and then also enjoying it and not letting the striving for excellence take away from the quality of life or the quality of the experience. And so that's always still a struggle. I mean, my situation is recording sessions.
Oh my
um,
gosh. That just like hit me up. I'm in the middle of one right now, and
right.
I've been noticing all those tendencies
Oh,
coming back up. Oh my
it just throws it into such a bigger light because, well, and I don't know, each recording session is different. And certainly now in pandemic, recording sessions are, I feel like, are even different than pre-pandemic, and I'm sure post-pandemic ones are. And from my experiences as pianist, it's usually not me recording solo, it's me recording with other people. So that brings up a whole other set of things, because the fun part of that is, even if I love my take, if it didn't go well for everybody, got to do it again, and maybe again and again and again and again, and try to just replicate every single time exactly what you want, so that hopefully you end up with a take that everyone's happy with. So unless you're just paying the big bucks and you're recording each person separately in separate tracks, which is often just not realistic. So yeah, so just trying to find the right kind of mindset to really actually go in and not be the reason you're having to do another take. Although that still happens, of course it does, but you don't, at least I don't want to be the person that's the responsible for, 3 or 4 retakes. Like 2 or 3, that's fine, but if we start heading down the road of 3 or 4, then I just know for me it's probably not going to happen, because of the mindset I'm in at that point. But and then you're wasting time and you're wasting money, and just there's a lot of pressure for me surrounding that. So a lot of the behaviors I have often for me come beforehand, because I will obsessively practice and practice and practice parts, because I don't want it to fall apart in the time that it really counts. Funnily, in live performance, I am much more relaxed in that, because there's something that you're doing because you're communicating with people in real time. It's just so different. And I don't of course I feel the stress to play well. I don't want to go up there and bomb, although we've all done that, but I don't want to regularly do that. And so in order to avoid that, of course, preparation at a high level has to happen. So all that to say, for me, the struggle has been to develop a healthy relationship between the end goal, which is sometimes, frankly, has to be fairly close to perfect. I suppose we choose what we define as perfect, but and then also not letting that destroy the enjoyment of the process. And so for me, I find so much joy in getting asked to do things. I find so much joy. At this point, I only do things with people I want to do things with, or I'll only ask people I want to do things with, So if I'm doing a collaboration, it's because I love those people and I love the music and I'm loving this opportunity. So I love that part of it, and I love practicing. So trying to also keep that same love of performing in the moment of the recording session is my goal at this point, while still being able to pull it off. So that's taken a lot of time and a lot of perspective shifts. I feel like that's what it's been for me, because at first I would try to pile on everything into a performance. I wanted it to be note perfect, dynamics, phrasing, I wanted to feel great about it. I wanted, I don't know, just every little aspect. And so that could turn into such a controlling thing. And I couldn't do that. Of course I couldn't do that. So then I felt like, then I missed one thing, I felt like everything was out of control. And so it required a change in goals and a change in perspective to say, I'm not going to be defined by one performance. Although we say that, but frankly, sometimes certain doors are opened or shut because of one performance, and that's okay. That's just the nature of what we do. But overall, I'm still going to continue on and be a pianist, in some form. So yeah, so to keep that as my goal, and then maybe choose, what I do now is to choose one goal for that performance based on what I know is realistic. So maybe my goal for that performance, and this is what I wrote down, was kind of what I shared, enjoying the experience in the moment, right? Keeping the same love that I had when the project was first tossed around, you know, to keeping that joy in the moment too. So that might look like when I'm literally walking into the performance space or recording space, that I'm just thinking, I'm going to breathe in peace, you know, or I'm going to breathe in positive energy to this moment, and I'm going to just stay in that space, and then whatever happens happens. And of course, when we are actually able to do that, what happens is really good, you know. So anyway, all that to say,
Yeah,
that's where
that's
I'm at with
beautiful.
it.
Thank you for sharing. And yeah, it's really just for me, it's just connecting to myself again and trying to not be defined by my
Mhm.
achievements and what I do, and really just figuring out like who I am outside of all of that, which
Yep.
has been difficult. When you spend so many years just focusing on like what you achieve and like how much you achieve, and then comparing yourself to others, and then feeling bad about yourself if you don't achieve something. And so it's really it's difficult to reconnect, but I really think, at least for me, that's the key, is
Mm.
to just really just come back to myself and cultivate that sense of self-love and confidence from within, so then I'm not defined by what I do or how much I do. So yeah. But hopefully this was helpful, and like I said, please take care of yourself, seek professional help if you need it. If you need resources or anything, feel free to contact us. We can send it to you. So yeah, take care of yourself and rest. So go ahead, and would you like to announce the guest for next week?
Yes, I'm so excited. But first, real quick, if you want to look up any previous sessions, you can find them on the Puerto Rico Flute Symposium Facebook page, Diaz del Moral Foundation website, playingwithoutpain.com, or mindfulmusicpedagogy.com. And again, you can always hit us up with a question or a comment either in the Facebook Live session comment section, or the email that I listed at the beginning, which was info at
Yeah, I think
prflutesymposium.org.
yeah, I think the best way would be to send us a message to the Facebook page right
Yes.
now. There's a technical error with the
Oh,
email,
with the email. Got it. Okay.
which I should have changed that on the
That's
description. But
okay.
if you need to contact us, send us a message on the Facebook page or on the Instagram. That'd be the best, I think. Or the comments. So,
It'll get to us one way or the other.
yes.
Yes, but I'm so excited for our guest next week. This is someone I know named Susan Newman. She is an energy practitioner, and she is earning her doctorate in complementary and alternative medicine with an emphasis in energy psychology from Akami University. So her presentation next week will be entitled Heart Coherence, Techniques to Stop Inner Chaos, Promote Well-Being and Presence. And you can find her at holofieldhealing.com. That's HOLOFIELDHEALing.com. And that's what I've got. Yeah.
All right. Well, we will see you all next week. Have a great Sunday evening and have a great week.
Bye.